Thank you, Paul. I just want to say, unbelievably excited to be here in London. I think I just lost a video there. And we're back. There we go. Perfect. So thank you very much, Paul, and happy to be at this conference. I'm having a great time so far. And yeah, like Paul said, I'm Jacob. I'm one of the co-founders of Standard Library. We're one of the sponsors here as well. And I guess I want to talk about our product, code.xyz, but go into a little bit of why we're making this. So it's an in-browser code editor. And one thing we found often, we're a platform for shipping APIs as well, I should mention that. But we'd go to hackathons and we'd encounter often developers who weren't really comfortable behind a terminal, even basic things like basic configuration. They'd get stuck on basic things. And we built this as a way for, I think for me the best thing about serverless is really the promise of like less in configuration, less in headspace spent on all these nitty-gritty management tasks. And based on a lot of the feedback we got from a lot of these developers, we found that how can we take this to its kind of logical conclusion, its logical extreme? And well, that's really reducing that configuration and that worry about DevOps to the absolute minimum we can. So I'd like to show you guys just how quickly you can ship an API, full-featured API with documentation, everything, in just this, what do I have, like 8 minutes left, something like that? 8 minutes. So I'll get underway. And first thing I'm going to do is just hit new API. I'll call it Serverless Days. Oops, there we go. You can see I just get a pretty simple, hope that's big enough. Yeah, it's a little better. I just get a simple file here. You've all seen this a million times, I'm sure. But I can actually just hit run right away. And what it's going to do is it's actually going to deploy this API live. And in just a few seconds, I can see I have a function. I have a documentation URL. I can go see. You can actually ship this. You can all access this from your phones if you want it from your browser. It's jacoblib.lib.id/serverlessdays@dev. It's a development environment, so it's mutable. If I go, I can change parameters here as well. I should mention that. So world's default parameter, but if I say serverless, I can run it again. It doesn't need to recompile or redeploy anything, and I get hello serverless days. I built this API with Standard Lib and code.xyz. If I change this to a number, we actually do automatic type checking, so it'll say, give it a minute here. One or more parameters did not match the function signature because I set a default of a number, so it's expecting a number, but I passed in a string. And if I change this to 1, 2, 3, 4, I can see hello 1, 2, 3, 4. I built this API with code.xyz and Standard Lib. That's great. And if I go to this URL here, just standardlib.com, jacoblib, which is my Standard Lib username, you can see I just actually get this nice generated documentation page as well. This is where you can set details here. You can actually try this from your browser. If I hit run function now, hello 334, I built this API with code.xyz and Standard Lib. So right away I can see it takes one parameter, you can set description, expect a number, etc. So this is really cool, but you're not exactly going to need to, what are you going to do with this, right? It's what's the point? How can this empower developers who, maybe aren't as sophisticated, aren't super familiar with various configuration aspects, et cetera, to do more than just trivial hello world examples? Well, I'm actually going to show you how you can, and this is one of my favorite use cases. We had a person who's a solutions architect, doesn't write code full-time, isn't I think he used to far long in the past, working for a company based in Malta, actually, here in Europe. And he was actually able to ship a complete Slack application that basically took in events from a piece of software we're using called, I think it was Sentry. And basically whenever his system got some kind of login from a random IP address, would send a message to Slack saying, hey, is this okay? And if it's not okay and you weren't expecting it, they could report it to Jira and actually create a ticket for it, and security analysts could look into it. This was a guy who didn't write code professionally, but this was honestly something that probably might not have been built otherwise, but it's something that really excited me. So in that kind of spirit, I'll actually show you how to really quickly hook this up into Slack. So first thing I'll do is I'll use the excellent Slack, oops, where'd that go? There we go. I'll use the excellent Slack module here. just by importing it like that. And you can see the dependency automatically gets added, so when I deploy this again, it'll, I'll be able to use this in my function. And I'm simply just going to delete this, say slack.chat.postMessage. All this is doing is sending a message to Slack if you're not familiar with the package itself. I can actually look at the Slack docs I have up here. It takes a token, channel, and text, pretty easy. So token will be, I'll fill that in just a moment. Text will be, hey, let's use this. Hey, there was a breach from IP address. And I'm actually just going to make that a parameter. So IP address, and we'll set that default to 127 localhost. Final thing I need is channel, so I'll set channel to be serverless days, just like that. And I'll save it, and I'm going to execute it. And spoiler alert, it's not going to work. I haven't supplied any tokens or set an app or anything like that. Takes a little bit longer the first time. There we go. So missing param token. Great. That's from the post message button there. To do that, I'll quickly create an app here. Process, pretty straightforward. I'll call it serverless days. This is just for my Slack dashboard now. I'll set a workspace for it, create app. And there we go. I need to create a token here. Oh, it says scope too. So chat.bot. There we go. Save. Now I can set tokens here. Authorize. Bear with me here. And actually, this is just auth access token. I think this, I don't even think I need to make a bot user, but I think I actually might. So quickly create a bot user. Oh, should reinstall live demos. Reinstall. Great. And now I can just copy paste this token, go back to my functions folder here. By the way, I can add other functions here. Each one, everything in this functions directory maps to a different endpoint. This is just the main one, which is why I didn't have to supply a route of any kind, but you could add I could name this post and then it'd be jacoblee.serverlessdays.post or /post, and you'd be able to reference that function. So I'll add a environment variable here called bot token. I'll just paste the value I've retrieved from my Slack dashboard, save it. And now when I deploy, I'll hit run, fingers crossed here. And lovely. So I get a message back from Slack saying this is okay. I send the message. If I go to my channel now, I can see, hey, there's a breach from IP 127 localhost. And the coolest part of this is actually, I still have that documentation page, which I showed you earlier. So if I go back to that now and refresh it, I can see that the documentation here is updated. It's a dev environment still, so it's mutable. But I can actually try this right from my browser. So if I hit, I don't know. I don't think anyone knows their IP address off the top of their head, but 894 whatever dot whatever, and I hit run again. It'll say the same message. Hey, there's a breach from IP whatever, and I can see it here. So let's just backtrack a bit and say what I've done. Yeah, and okay. I've got 1 minute left, so it's a quick recap. From absolutely nothing, I didn't have to install anything. I just kind of went to Codex, was in my browser. I wrote 4 lines of JavaScript and deployed it, and I have now an API I can share on my organization. Other users can try from the browser. You could put this webhook in wherever you need to, and it'll trigger this, deploy to Slack, and yeah, I could get into things like access control as well, and other ways you could, you don't want anyone reporting security breaches, but you want to restrict that to probably your security team. But yeah, thank you very much.